He was never supposed to belong. He was just a foreigner, an outsider. But now, standing in the heart of enemy territory, sword in hand, blood dripping from his wounded leg, Nick Lowell was about to prove them all wrong. Orochi, the man who had taken everything from him, smirked, hands Nick's own sword back to him. "You think you're one of us?" he scoffs. "You'll always be an outsider." Nick doesn't answer. He already knows how this ends. The moment Orochi's fingers leave the hilt of the sword, Nick moves. A single, precise slash. Orochi's smirk fades as he staggers, choking, eyes wide in disbelief. In seconds, he collapses, dead. But how did it come to this? How did a former U.S. Marine, a man who had no place in this world, rise through the ranks of the Yakuza, only to be forced to destroy it all? To understand, we have to go back to where it all started. It began in an Osaka prison. 9 years after the Pacific War, Nick Lowell was the only non-Japanese inmate surrounded by Yakuza criminals marked by their inked bodies. He should have kept his head down. But when he saved a man named Kiyoshi from being hanged to death, everything changed. That one act of defiance earned him an unexpected debt: the loyalty of the Shiromatsu clan. They arranged his early release, and in return, they gave him an opportunity. Nick was sent to negotiate with Anthony Panetti, an American businessman who despised the Japanese. The deal should have been simple, but when Panetti refused to negotiate, favoring the rival Seizu clan instead, Nick didn't try to persuade him. He reacted. A typewriter to the head sent Panetti crashing to the ground, and suddenly, he had no choice but to reconsider. From that moment on, Nick was more than just a foreigner. He was an enforcer, a warrior. When the Seizu tried to intimidate the Shiromatsu in their own nightclub, Nick didn't back down. One insult, one broken bottle, and suddenly, the Seizu were retreating, their bluff called. Kiyoshi took notice. He gave Nick a place to live, a suit to wear, and something more: his sister, Miyu. Nick and Miyu's relationship was inevitable, dangerous, and sealed in ink when he got an Irizumi tattoo to match hers. He was becoming one of them, earning their trust, proving his loyalty. But the Yakuza world was changing, and the Shiromatsu patriarch refused to adapt. Rival clans saw weakness. Betrayal was inevitable. The first sign came when Kiyoshi sent Nick alone on a weapons deal. It was a setup, a trap. The Seizu were waiting, 4 men against 1. They wanted the money. Instead, they got bullets. Nick took them down, but his actions had consequences. He had unknowingly started a war. To make amends, he and Kiyoshi offered a yubitsumi, severed fingertips, a traditional act of apology. The Seizu accepted for now, but peace never lasts. At a sumo match, an offer was made. The Shiromatsu could surrender, merge with the Seizu, or be destroyed. The patriarch refused. The war was inevitable. And it was about to get personal. A face from Nick's past surfaced. Paulie Bowers, a U.S. Marine on leave, recognized his former captain. To the Marines, Nick was dead. Better that way. But Paulie saw an opportunity. Blackmail. Nick had no choice. He lured Paulie to his apartment and ended it with a blade across his throat. As if that wasn't enough, the war hit even closer to home. Miyu was assaulted by her former lover, Orochi. She stopped Nick from killing him, revealing something that changed everything. She was pregnant. Nick went to Kiyoshi. No more games, no more hesitation. He was responsible for Miyu now. Kiyoshi gave him a daisho, a warrior's swords, a symbol of honor. Together, they buried Paulie's body in the woods, sealing another secret in blood. Then the real war began. The Seizu struck when the Shiromatsu were at their weakest. An ambush at a tailor shop. Nick, Kiyoshi and the patriarch tried to escape, but Kiyoshi didn't make it. A bullet took him down, and in that moment, Nick lost the closest thing he had to a brother. The betrayal ran deep. A fifth of the Shiromatsu had defected, including Orochi. There was no choice left. The Shiromatsu patriarch, desperate to salvage what remained, agreed to peace talks at the harbor. But peace was a lie. Orochi made sure of that. During an embrace, he drove a knife into the Shiromatsu patriarch's back. A sniper's bullet hit Nick's leg. The war was over. The Seizu had won, or so they thought. The Shiromatsu club was burned down. But Nick wasn't done. He didn't care about survival. He cared about justice, revenge, and he knew exactly where to get it. He walked into the Seizu dojo alone, carrying Kiyoshi's sword. He had one demand, Orochi. And now, here they were. Orochi's lifeless body lay at his feet. The blade still dripped red. Nick stood in the center of the Seizu stronghold, surrounded, breathing heavily. He had done what he came to do. But what happens next? The Seizu patriarch watches, then nods. It is done. Leave. Nick returns to the safe house, where Miyu waits, guarded by the last remaining Shiromatsu loyalists. She runs to him, and as the few survivors bow in reverence, it becomes clear Nick Lowell came to Japan as a prisoner. Now, he walks away as the head of a Yakuza clan.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit subscribe and tap the bell icon so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.